What's up, YouTube? So, today I want to talk about how you're not allowed to fail in Throne and Liberty or any other MMORPG that has bosses with mechanics. For the most part, you're not allowed to fail. In this game, you can matchmake with a team, right? And when I was playing this game, I had a team of people that were, with me, like three of us. It was like three of us. And going into the dungeons, we didn't know everything about the bosses, and we would watch a little video or whatever, and then try to figure out, okay, let me go into the match and try to do the things, right? So there would be some little things that we like skip through because we were like, okay, well, let's just see how to fight the boss. Once you get to level 50 dungeons, there are some like extra little mechanics that you need to know about or whatever, but you'll end up learning them. Sometimes it's just more fun to just go in with your friends or go in and just play the game. Like, you don't want to have to like do a bunch of studying or whatever, unless you really need to, or you really can't figure it out, right? So what happens is people get into these dungeons and they get frustrated and that people don't know the mechanics, right? And it's like, well, just tell them the mechanics. Like, if I'm in a dungeon and I know the dungeon and someone else doesn't know the dungeon, I'm not mad at them that they don't know the dungeon or they don't know the mechanics, because it's like, okay, maybe it's their first time doing it, or maybe they haven't really cleared it, or they're really like trying to learn it or whatever, right? I don't care that they didn't watch a video. Like, that seems to me to be pretty toxic, where you're just like, oh my god, people just don't want to just go and watch a quick 3-minute video on how to beat the dungeon. It's a lot different than actually doing the dungeon. Like, it's the same thing in like fighting games where you go into practice mode, you practice the combo over and over and over again, you get it down, and then you go into a match and you screw it up, right? Like, you're going to screw it up. I don't expect anyone to go into a dungeon for their first time, or even like their 5th time, and just perfectly execute the dungeon every single time, right? I expect to fail the dungeon a few times when I go in, but not clearing the dungeon at all because people left because like, oh, we failed the dungeon 2 times, and they're like, oh, I don't want to do this, and they're gonna go find a new team to do it, and then they're probably gonna fail it again with that team, and then they're gonna go quit again and look for another team. They're the ones that are part of the problem, right? The people that don't stay around to actually learn the dungeon and actually like, type in chat and be like, okay, what are we doing wrong? Let's try to fix the things that we're doing wrong. What's going on? Like, where are we dying? What do we need to fix, right? And talking to each other and be like, okay, well, let's fix it. And then when you guys fix it and you start to understand what you're supposed to be doing, and you learn from failing over and over again, it gets to be easier. Like, once you know, like with this guy, right, that we're looking at right here, this dude, he has a shield that comes up around him, and it's blue, right? So you can't hurt him while he's in this shield, right? And the only way to stop him, and if you don't stop him from doing this, he will wipe your entire team, right? Unless you're the tank, and you can probably survive it if you're full health, right? Which is usually me. So they were saying you have to stun this guy. You have to break the shield, and then you have to stun him. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. So I understood that we had to break the shield and then stun him. So the blue shield would come up, we would dump everything on him, break the shield, and then I was trying to stun him while the shield was red, and I didn't know that, like, here it is right here. You dump everything on him, and then you have to stun him. But it's like, oh, okay, well, I didn't know that you had to wait until the shield goes down from being red and then hit the stun in between the shield coming down and him doing the wipe mechanic, right? And which, like, people survived it, but like usually it wipes your team. So like, this might not, oh, this is the early dungeon, this is the level 20 dungeon, so or the level whatever, yeah, I think this is the level 20 dungeon. So the level 50 version of this dungeon, when he does that shield thing, if you don't stop him from doing that explosion, he wipes your whole team. So this was early in the game before we got to level 50. But yeah, like, once we figure that out, and they don't really tell you, they don't really teach you that in this game, in this version of the dungeon, because the explosion doesn't kill you unless you're already almost dead, right? So you can take the hit where it's like, okay, you're hitting him, break the shield, and then he's like, oh, I gotta do whatever. But like, we didn't even know that you could stop him from doing the explosion, because you don't need to necessarily in the level 20 dungeon. In the level 50 version of the dungeon, you find this out the hard way, right? And you don't know. So the people that don't know that, they'll get hit. They won't stun them at the right time, just like I didn't stun him at the right time the first few times, even though I watched a video that told me that you have to stun him after you break the shield, right? Because it wasn't that much, there wasn't that much detail where it was like, oh, you need to wait until in between the time that the red shield comes down and he does the white mechanic, that you have to stun him to prevent him from wiping your squad. And I was like, oh. Later on, I found a different video that said that, but then I was like, oh, I think I understand. But during the time that we were failing this part of the mission, we were talking in chat about, okay, well, what do we have to do? I was like, oh, I think I have to try it this time. I have to try it this way. So it's like, okay, I tried to stun him, but I couldn't break through the shield. It was like, well, I think you have to, somebody was like, oh, I think you have to wait until after the shield comes down. And I was like, I thought I did, because the shield was red, so I thought I could stun him because we broke the shield from being blue. But it was like, you have to talk to your team to figure this out. And this is like the fun part. It's like, yeah, if your team is chill and you guys are like, just like in it to like, okay, well, let's learn the dungeon, let's play it out, learn what we're supposed to do, through trial and error sometimes. That's fine. But like when we're talking in chat and we're trying to figure it out, and then like somebody just drops, right? Somebody just drops, one player just drops out because they're like, oh my god, we failed this twice, right? And it's just like, dude, just relax, let the people learn the dungeon. I understand you're trying to grind the dungeon, but you're not going to make it any better for us if you leave. So it's like, then we got to sit there and matchmake and wait for the next player to come in, because you can't really do this, you can't really do level 50 dungeons without the 5 people, or excuse me, without the, what is it, six players. Like you might be able to get away with 5 players, but sometimes 2 people leave, and it's just like, come on, bro. That's the toxic thing. People don't leave because they get frustrated and don't know the mechanics or don't like the dungeon. And the reason why I say that is because I was watching this other video from this other content creator on YouTube who said that it's not like people will leave because they don't like the dungeon, or they the dungeon is too mechanicky for them or whatever. And I was like, that's not why people leave usually. People who don't know the dungeon are trying to learn how to do the dungeon, and they just want to be in there and run it a few times so that they can get used to it and learn it. Like the people, most of the time, if people are just trying to learn the dungeon, it's like, let them fail a few times, bro. Let them fail 3-4 times. Who cares, right? At least they can learn it, because that's how people are going to learn it. You're not going to get these dungeons on the first shot, right? You're not going to get them on the first shot. You're going to have to run them multiple times so that you can remember what the animations and stuff look like, so that you can remember that you have to press this certain button when this certain animation comes up, or like just different stuff like that. Know where you're supposed to be when certain things happen. Know what, like based on who your team members are, trying to do all the different mechanical things in the game. You need to be able to fail sometimes so that you can learn how to do it, whether you watch the video or not. Like, that's just how it works. But it makes me not want to even play the game, because not only does our team not have a strong guild, because like we made our own guild because we wanted to do our own thing, and we could easily join another guild and just run in another guild and do it that way. But it's like that's what I think we might have to do if we want to continue playing this game. But I most likely just don't want to do it for other reasons, because like it's just I don't have the time to play this game really like that. But I think the game is still fun. I think it's still like good, but it's just hard to want to play it when people are just leaving dungeons after 2 and 3 fails. And it's like, I'd rather lose the dungeon 6 and 7 times before we clear it. If it was the whole team was the same team, if the whole team is the same team and we fail like 4 or 5 times and we're talking about it and everybody's like, oh, you know, okay, well, I gotta fix this. I did this wrong. Oh, I missed this block. I missed this thing over here. I want to try it one more time. Let's keep going. I'm down to do that. But like this whole thing where people just leave and they don't even talk in chat and they just leave the dungeon because nobody is carrying them through the dungeon, and they just ruin it for everybody. And it's just like, that's why I don't like playing the dungeons, and I don't like doing the or playing the game anymore. So I'd rather play like another game, which I've been playing Wayfinder as of yesterday, because I'm playing it on challenging, and it feels more my speed of what I want to do when I want to come home from work and just play the game and just, you know, do something that's a little challenging and be able to do it on my own, or have, you know, teammates with me to do stuff. So yeah, man, like that's all. Just stop being toxic in matchmaking. And if somebody doesn't know the mechanics, just teach them. Pull your little fingers out, type in the chat, and teach them. If you're on console, plug in a keyboard. Get a keyboard, get a little mini keyboard, get a little USB keyboard or something, plug it in and use the chat. If you're not using the chat, use the voice chat. If you don't want to use the voice chat, do plug in a keyboard and start using it to communicate with your team so that you guys can get through these things, even if you fail it a few times. Because leaving after 1 or 2 matches or 1 or 2 fails, it's not gonna get you stuff any faster. Because if you're just leaving and you're waiting for somebody to carry you through the match, it's like, come on, bro. Just stick it out. Just stick it out. Learn the match. Let more people play the game and understand how things are supposed to work, and not have people sitting there and having to redo the entire dungeon all over again because you can't get a match made team, or sitting there for 10 minutes waiting for another person to come into matchmaking so y'all don't have to leave from in front of the boss's lair. Like, bro, it's so frustrating. But if you guys agree with what I'm saying about this game and about being toxic, because I think people have the wrong idea about why people leave and what is actually toxic in the game. Telling people to go watch a video and don't come in these dungeons without watching a video is insanely toxic. Don't do that. Just help these people in the game. Like, that's how it used to work. You know, like in World of Warcraft, the reason why the game, you know, lasted so long is because there was a sense of community. There was no YouTube, right, for you to just look up a video real quick of how to do the dungeon. You had to talk to people. You had to queue up. There was no queuing up with people. You literally had to wait outside the dungeon and be like, yo, y'all trying to go in here and do this? I need a party to go in here and do this dungeon. Y'all trying to go like clear this joint out? And that's how it would work. And you go in and y'all would die together and y'all would make a bond, and that's how it worked. Now, I didn't even play World of Warcraft like that, but I know that's how it worked. I played a little bit, but I like having it work that way, and having where there's nowhere you can go just look up how to finish it, maybe in forums and stuff like that, but there was no YouTube to just go look up a video real quick about, oh, let me see how to do this dungeon from a content creator that's done it a bunch of times and knows exactly how to tell us everything and post the answers, right? No, you didn't do it that way. So I mean, you might have still been frustrated at people for not knowing the dungeon, but like, you would have to teach people the dungeon in order for them to get used to doing it. And then now that you've taught them and y'all have cleared it, y'all can go through it again, clear it again and again and again, and keep doing that. But, you know, people would rather tell people to go watch a video than actually communicate with their team in game. So get better at that, guys. All right, I'm out. Peace.